Roll over onto your side if you're on your back and come up. Nice and easy. We're going to start on 2 blocks or whatever you've got that approximates that. If you're at home practicing, you can always use things like folded towels. We're going to cross our legs and we're going to put a blanket underneath the shins. So a very simple version of Sukhasana, which I have heard some people translate as simple pose, although that's not correct. Hey, Kate. But it is a simple pose in many ways. So cross-legged, blanket under the shins, 2 blocks under the bum. Attention into the heart, which is gently buoyant. Gently buoyant. And you can assume Jnana Mudra, which is palms up, thumb and index finger touching. Jnana from the root jnana, hi, morning, which means to know. So we're sitting in this knowing mudra, this receptive mode, on 2 blocks, cross-legged with a blanket under the shins. And we're just going to close our eyes for a moment or two, so that, not so we can drift off, but so that we can focus on the here and now living sensations. So what we often find is there's already a lot going on before we even start assuming yogasanas, yoga postures. There's already a lot going on. There's tensions in the body connected with our journey here. There's tensions in the body connected with thoughts about the future, anticipations, whether they be excited or nervous or whatever. There's experiences in the body that are connected with the past, whether it be nostalgia or regret or just good old-fashioned reminiscing. So as we sit on 2 blocks with a blanket under the shins in a cross-legged position, we'll start to notice how the body starts to shed what it was holding already. And how that's a major part, maybe even the majority, maybe even the whole of coming into the present, just a simple shedding. And it's a kind of 2-way street. The more you come into the present, the more you shed the past and the future. And the more there's this shedding in the part of the past and the future, the more you come to the present. You can't tell which is leading, which is following. Bring your hands to Atmanjali Mudra. So it's a prayer position. You can focus your attention on the heart. So the chest is buoyant, lifted and light, which is mirroring an attitude that's becoming gently more buoyant, lifted and light. So we always work with ourselves as we find ourselves. We don't want to superimpose how we think we should be and thereby sort of repress, suppress, ignore how we are. But we want to know how we are, be kind and spacious, and take that experience towards a more buoyant, open experience at a pace that's realistic, at a pace that's kind, at a pace that's honest. And so this points to our word yoga or holism. We're going to interlace the fingers next to their roots. We're going to stretch the arms diagonally down. We're going to raise the arms up. And as you raise up, try not to impinge on the roots of your neck. Try not to tighten your neck up. So best ways to avoid tightening the neck is to realize the neck is part of the mind. So what happens to the body has to happen to the mind. So if you want a loose and soft neck, the mind will be naturally invited to also become loose and soft, which is why yoga is so beneficial, not just for the body, because there is no such thing as just the body. So as you raise up dynamically, suck in your tummy, suck in your back ribs, suck in the side ribs to contribute to the in-up feeling. And make sure that the neck and the mind and the breath mirror this sense of lightness. Of course, it's common in yoga texts to find one, maybe two, sometimes three poses only. So it's quite common for a yoga pose to be something you really get a lot out of, just even one pose. And I think that's definitely the case with Sukhasana. Let's take a big wide circle to release. Palms back to our Jnana Mudra. And breathe through the nose. So those who've just come in, we're sitting on 2 blocks with a blanket under the shins. So you can quickly adjust that now if you're not on 2 blocks with a blanket under the shins. And that's a very particular reason for using that support. Of course, in classical yoga, and of course, scholars mean various things by classical yoga. They mean the Patanjali Yoga Shastra. They mean modern postural classical yoga, which is the schools of Krishnamacharya. But also we can say classical yoga is, well, just a general pointer to ancient yoga texts, whether they've been a Hatha yoga or a tantric milieu or a whatever, however they come. In Hatha yoga, in tantric yoga, in all the yogas, there's this sense of bringing everything together, and supports are very commonly used in all schools of yoga. Wiggle your fingers, nice and easy, and change the cross of your legs so the other one goes in front. While you're doing that, I'll just check that the Zoomers are all okay. You can hear me okay. You're all hearing me okay? Yeah, thumbs up. Yep, great. So again, the blanket, the point of the blanket is it's a sort of security in the sense that the legs have somewhere to go and land, because they're going to go down because of gravity, of course. But and that going down of the legs pulls the connective tissue that connects to the pelvis, so it pulls the pelvis forwards, which we want. But if it keeps pulling the pelvis forwards, then we'll end up having to pull ourselves back, and we're going to contract the lower back. So we need to put a brake, and that's what the blanket is for. Again, we're going to start in our Jnana Mudra. If you hear a Sanskrit say Gnya, Sanskritist say Gnya rather, that's normal, common, fine. Both are fine. Jna, Gnya. And breathe through your nose calmly. Let go of the tailbone. Is it possible to let go of the tailbone without letting go of the breath, without letting go of the mind? Is it possible to let go of the tailbone, like really thoroughly, completely, without letting go of the breath? Truth is, they have to move together. Just in the same way that, an elephant's trunk can't move independently of the elephant's head. Well, not completely independent. It can't be in 2 different places. Again, we bring our hands to the Atmanjali Mudra. We'll breathe through the nose if we can. There's a keen sense of study in yoga. We could categorize that using Patanjali's system and call it Svadhyaya. So a keen sense of interest. Not like sort of trying to get things right by someone else, but just like, what's this actually like? Nothing to do with any other opinions or trying to fit in with what we might perceive are yogic points of view or anything else. It's just, just a genuine open interest. And now we're going to interlace the fingers like we did before. We're going to stretch the arms diagonally. We're going to raise the arms up. So it's Urdhva Pada Angulyasana, Urdhva Pada Angulya Sukhasana, meaning Urdhva Pada meaning bound upwardly, Angulya fingers. Now again, make sure your neck is free. Really lift up. So try not to bend the elbows if you can. So there's a pulling down actually from the electronon process as part of your ulna, your forearm bone. It pulls down towards the shoulder blade as part of you stretching up through the inside or the medial part of the arm. That is which is currently closest to the head. And then suck in and lift up and breathe through the nose. So you're sucking in your tummy, you're lifting up, breathing through the nose. Take a big, wide circle And you're back to your jnana mudra. Then you're taking deep breaths. And the seat is settling. And the breath has to go with that. It's just how it is, isn't it? You can't settle your seat without settling the breath. So all over the body, yoga is much more about undoing than it is about doing. Unfortunately, because of the way the mind is, sometimes we think we should do undoing. But that's not possible. Undoing is not doing, including doing relaxation. So what is it then? How does it come about? It's natural. It comes out of shraddha, confidence in the moment. Confidence in the moment. In the moment. Release your fingers with a little wiggle. And nice and easy, remove your blanket and push your blocks to one side. Now we're going to take the same blanket and roll it, after having made sure it's folded real neat, roll it into a sausage, a blue sausage, kind of sausage that I don't think any of us would like to eat because it's blue and because it's made of cotton. And that blue cotton sausage is going underneath your scapula, aka your shoulder blades, as you lay down. So where we want it is the bottom, just to the immediate bottom of the shoulder blades. The breastbone has three parts. The xiphoid cartilage is the bottom part. What we want to feel, you can even put your finger on the xiphoid cartilage. What we want to feel is it not going down, but going up as we lean back on the blanket and over. So that's how you know you've got the blanket in the right position, because it makes your chest go from the bottom of the breastbone up and over. Once you're on the blanket and you've got the right position, and the mistake people make, if they make it at all, if we make it at all, is to put it in the lower back, which we definitely don't want to do. So it's just immediately below your shoulder blades, and it should lift your chest from the bottom of the breastbone up and over. Yes, and it should hurt. We're going to have the legs straight and the arms straight up and the legs together if you can. Breathe through your nose if you can. Relax your neck if you can. Keep the legs together. Now that might be the legs or it might be the feet, depending on the shape of your legs, or it might be both. Now we're going to stretch the arms over our heads towards the floor, and we're going to draw in the tummy from the front, the sides, and the back as the arms move. So the more the arms move over, the more we want to draw inwardly, so that as the arms move, they elongate the back. They elongate the muscles on the back of the body and towards the sides of the back of the body. Not least latissimus dorsi, which is the biggest, broadest muscle on the back, extending from the lumbar into the thoracic region and into the arms as well. Take a couple of breaths. If it's really, really tough, find ways to be kind, but also, good job that you're here. If you feel very stiff, good job that you're here. Keep breathing into it. Don't hold the breath. Keep the legs together if you can. We shouldn't really be able to daydream because we're focusing on the relationship between the arms going over and the torso from all sides going in to contribute to this lengthening. And perhaps you can lengthen more. Perhaps you can stretch your arms along the floor. A little intensity is no bad thing. Okay, arms then forwards towards your legs. Bend your legs. And with good luck on your side, You'll be able to roll over and maybe even come up. I hope you can come up from the side. And that should have helped. It will help your Adho Mukha Svanasana, your downward facing dog pose. So let's pop into that and let's just see if it's helped us. But first, let's do a couple of checks. Let's make sure the hands are equidistant from the sides of the mat. Imagine that your yoga teacher was neurotic, really sort of uptight, and that he or she, let's say he for now, he would want to check that your little fingers were to the millimeter, exactly the same distance from the side of the mat. And let's just call him Jim for now. Okay, so toes tucked under, lift your bum up and push from front to back. Pad the pause, meaning mesh the molecules of your hands into the mat through repetition. Through repetition. So you want to mesh the molecules of your palms into the mat through repetition. Now, obviously, movement helps to hydrate the body. It helps to warm it, it helps to hydrate it, and it helps to melt extraneous tissue that's built up because of too much stasis, perhaps in certain positions. Sapiens, of course, are built for a lot of different kinds of movement, but many of us now, for one reason or another, get stuck in just a very few shapes in our body. So melting can involve movement as well. Now, there's thousands of things we could look at in this pose, but let's look at the palm balance. Just move your pelvis, move your shoulders forwards, backwards, left, right, in ways that help you feel each part of your palm. Rolling, moving to this side, feeling the lower heel of the palm on one hand, and the outer lower heel of the palm on one hand and the inner lower heel on the other, and then ranging around till you feel that all parts of your hands holistically begin to light up. The heels stretch back, the back of the thighs support. They support by drawing forwards. And the front of the thighs lift up on that support, especially around the patellas, especially around, in fact, underneath the patellas, underneath the kneecaps. Okay, well done, everyone. Coming down to a regular kneeling position, for which, of course, you can use a block between the heels and buttocks. And in fact, it's highly recommended that you do if your knees have even a trace of tension. We're placing one hand on top of the other. We're breathing through the nose if we can. We're letting the bum relax. Notice if your bum's a little tense. Like sometimes we almost feel like we always have to be a little bit ready for something unexpected. So the body is often in that sort of, slightly ready for something unexpected. Maybe we've got used to a few shocks. Many of us have had a few shocks in our lives, one way or the other. So we can notice how that's become a habit. And of course, that habit means we're always slightly reaching out of the moment to an anticipated future. But I don't know if you've noticed that the future never comes. There's never been a future, it never will be a future. All there is the present. That's all there ever is. It's just an eternal present. We imagine a future, we imagine a past, but there's always, the only thing we've ever experienced is the present. So the present is just a movement. The present is an ever-moving experience. But we're not moving to the future. We're not moving out of this. It's just that this is constantly changing, both inside and outside. Okay, slow and calm, release your hands and stretch your legs out. Now for this Dandasana, let's all take a couple of blocks. If you've only got one block, that's okay, but 2 blocks works even better, short end to short end. Voila, ici, like this. Look here. And then once you've got your 2 blocks together, and as I say, you can sit on just one, if you haven't got to, but 2 is better because it provides a platform for your hands as well. Make sure your blocks are very, very neatly arranged, as if you had an uptight yoga teacher. You can imagine that scenario again. Let's just give him a sort of pseudonym. Let's call him Mr. Taran for now. When it comes to the inner front edge of the Ischio tuberosity, sitting bones, hands next to your knees. Let's do that together. Draw your hands back, stretching your pectoralis. Now, it depends on the length of your arms, whether you bend your elbows or whether you come to your fingertips or whether your hands are flat. But we want the shoulders down and back. And we want to sit upright. So we want our eyes to be upright and breathing, head upright, neck upright. Just feel how your neck is in relationship to the rest of the spine. If there was a central channel, a madhya nadi, running anterior to the spine, would it feel like it had space, equal space, all the way along it? So imagine a channel about the thickness of your thumb, let's say, running along the front of your spinal column, all the way from low down to high up, including the neck. And would it feel like energy was flowing evenly? Could it? So your anatomical position will affect your pranic position, your energy position. This is a basic theory of Hatha Yoga. Movement, of course, is welcome. As we've described already, movement can melt and hydrate, but it also can help tune us out of habit patterns which inhibit our spontaneity and creativity in the moment. So sit tall. Sometimes it feels like quite a, difficult pose in some ways. Breathe into it. Keep that energetic alignment all the way along this imagined central channel. Chest open. Don't forget to keep upright. Include your head. And for the last few breaths in this pose, imagine now that you were sort of trying to see someone who might be coming in the distance, right? Let's have a pleasant imaginal experience here. Let's imagine that we're on a beach in Goa. And we're just looking to see if that person who sells the pineapple is coming along the beach. So we're lifting up. We're not going to stand up. It's too hot. We're too lazy for that. We're going to just lift up. We think we can see someone in the distance. Is it the person we think it is? So that's the kind of lift. Okay, well done. Beautifully done. Come out and bring yourself up to the Tadasana. We're going to use a brick block. Regular blocks could be used as well, but if you've got a brick block, they can be made of cork or some sort of weird space age foam or wood. We're going to stand up and we're going to place one foot, let's say the left foot, on the brick block. They fit most shoe sizes because it's fine if your toes come off the end. But I reckon if someone had a size 11.5 or more, they might need another block at the end. In fact, I know that's true. Okay, so standing up. I don't think anyone in the room has a size 11.5 foot or more, men's size, but you should be able to get the bones on the block. And then you're on your toes of the other foot, and your chest is up. And you're breathing through your nose. Shoulders are down by nature of not holding them up and by nature of pushing up. So we really want to lift up. There's a gracefulness that we want to get going on as well. So we're sort of in, up, gracefulness. And then we're going to raise the arms. And breathe through the nose. As you raise the arms, draw everything together, which is the meaning of yoga, isn't it? From the front, the sides, and the back of the body over time. So it's a process of sort of gathering, isn't it? Keep breathing deep. Gather from the back, gather from the sides, gather from the front. And lift as high as you can. Take a wide circle and place your foot down. Take a deep breath and stand on the block with the other foot. Similarly. So make sure the supportive bony structure of your foot is on there. The ball of the heel bone and the ball of the foot. And then when you're ready, come up onto your toes of the other leg. Chest lifted, get as much height as you can, so you draw your tummy in, and then raise your arms up. Very good, lovely. Keep breathing through your nose. Perhaps you can feel as you draw in, as you recruit, as you gather, that the pelvic floor starts to assume a little supportive role. So the more you gather in and up from the tummy, from the back of the body, from the front of the body, from the sides of the body, the more we get this little nudge at the pelvic floor that just keeps encouraging awareness to stay in that central channel that we're imagining, positing, suggesting, and keeps that uprightness. We keep breathing, we don't hold our breath. We lift a little higher if we can. I think we can. Go ahead. Yeah. Big, wide circle to release. Take a breath as you come down, nice and calm. Put the block to one side. Bring your feet together and spread your toes. If the feet won't come together because your thighs meet before your feet, then by all means have the feet apart. Or if it's uncomfortable because your knees don't feel comfy together or feet, also have them apart, but have them level. Arms by your sides. Breathe through your nose. Range around on the four corners of your feet, meaning let your pelvis move as if moving against a ring. Imagine a ring around the pelvis, and the pelvis arbitrarily, not in a sort of logical circle, but just arbitrarily bounces off different parts of that ring, helping us to tune in on our feet as the weight changes. And you might even move the feet as well. If you wanted, you could. And gradually we're looking for a balance that doesn't make our breath tight. We're looking for a balance between the left foot and the right foot, between the front of the feet and the back of the feet, between the inner foot and the outer foot, but a balance that's honest, not tight, not tense. Huh? So you tune in on that balance. You tune in on that balance. The chest is buoyant, meaning lifted. The shoulders are back. The shoulders are down. The yogin is investigative. Raise the arms up. Stay attentive in a loving way to the feet. As you raise up, suck in the tummy and really raise up. So we're not bending the elbows if we can avoid it. We're sucking in the tummy. If you're able to think about what I'm saying, then you're not stretching enough. So stretch more. You can use movements like bending the knee, one knee at a time, or just moving the pelvis to gather honestly. Being honest is not as easy as it sounds. Being really honest about how the body actually is. And that might mean completely slowing down or speeding up or whatever it means. So you gather. And that buoyancy at the pelvic floor again. Now we're going to press the feet, raise the fingers on the inhale. Press the feet, raise the fingers. Exhale, bend ankles, knees, and hips. It's Utkatasana. Utkata simply means to squat. We're going to bring our fingers all the way down to the floor. And please allow for movement that allows your back to feel released, such as pushing the bum up or down, or moving between those actions. Keep the jaw passive, keep the eyes passive. The fingertips of the left hand on the floor. The right hand comes onto your sacrum as you turn. The sacrum is the bony plate above your tailbone and below your waist. Keep the knees bent, breathe through your nose. Allow movement that helps you meditate, which means absorb. Swap round to the second side, same thing, you're turning in the other direction. Breathe through your nose if you can. Don't hold the breath. You can avoid holding the breath. Both fingers on the floor. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Either repeat the same, or if you feel comfortable to do so with the knees bent, bring your left elbow onto the outside of your legs. So either the left hand is cupped on the floor, or you come to the outside of the legs. You can use your right hand to help work it round, and then bring the hands into prayer position. Keep breathing free. Well done. release, and similarly, go to the other side, either with the hand cupped on the floor or with the hands in the prayer position. Not holding the breath, softening the eyes. Wonderful. Back to the floor with both fingers. Raise your arms up behind you with your ribs on your thighs. Then arms forwards and up. Keep the knees bent, keep folding from the hip joints, and then stand up. Well done. Big circle. Hands to the hips. Step the feet apart generously. A generous stride. So that means way over half the mat. Way over. Left toes in, right foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. Stretch between the legs. You should just check, we should check, our front heel lines up with the back instep. So it's not lined up with the heel or the toes, but in the middle. And then we're going to bend the front knee, perhaps a few times, using movements as well of the feet, if that helps you to loosen the fascial tissues, until we can get something like a right angle-ish with the front leg, right angle-ish. But we want it holistically. The poses aren't the yoga. Something like 80% of yoga texts, historically speaking, use the word yoga as the goal, as the state of being that is achieved through the practices that are mentioned therein. So it's not the practices, but the goal of the practices, which is a sense of coming together. We're going to bring our hand, our back hand, our left hand on the outside of the leg. We're coming into the Viparita Virabhadra. Viparita meaning reverse. Again, we're looking for incorporation. So move in ways that gather together the various fibers of the body. So there's a lot of honesty required. Then we're going to bring the elbow down, palm up, bottom ribs forwards, look up, stretch up, maybe over if you want. And it's Pajva Konasana. Pajva meaning side, Kona meaning corner or angle. Relax your jaw. Stretch between both legs, meditatively. Meaning feel your energy expand in both directions. Good job. Arm down, palm down, push into the leg. Use your inhale to come up. Well done. Hands on the hips, feet face forwards. Breathe through your nose if you can. While breathing deeply, turn your back toes in, front foot and leg turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. Check that you've got heel to arch alignment. And having checked that and being happy with that, stretch out your arms and lift your ribs. Breathe through your nose. Just double check your back toes have turned in. Another way of putting it is double check your back heel has turned out. And then when you're ready, bending perhaps several times, just to kind of massage the various tissues to work them into the pose. So the pose shape is not what we're here for. We're using, the shape is of service to our journey into yoga. We're not at service to the pose, trying to make the pose the king. The pose is of service to our journey into yoga. When you're ready, lean back for the Viparita, to the reverse. Breathe deep. Lightly tone the tummy. Remain investigative. Remain investigative. Bring your elbow down to your leg, palm up, bottom ribs forwards. The option to stretch the arm up and maybe over is an option. You don't have to do it. Sometimes it's not possible. Breathing calmly. As you press your elbow down into your leg, feel your bottom ribs move forwards. Breathe through your nose if you can. Good job. Arm down, palm down. Push into the leg. Use your inhalation to come up. Hands on your hips. We're going to forward fold. So you might A, need blocks. B, need to step to one side if you feel that will mean your face will unexpectedly impact somebody's buttocks. So Do step to one side to avoid that. If you're not sure if you're going to be able to reach the floor with your hands and keep this whole area just as it is open, we're not going to be folding over the abdomen at all, then that's when we use a block. We're going to turn the toes in a little, and we're going to do everything we can without ever giving up to extend the little toes out. It's like a Zen riddle. If you can solve the riddle of how to extend into your little toes, then you're beginning to move into the calmness that yoga requires. It requires a deep calmness. It doesn't require 72 poses in an hour and a quarter with a playlist. It requires calmness. Okay, inhale, lift up from the groins. Exhale, fold, hinge from the hip joints, fold over the top of the front thighs, bring your hands to your block or the floor. Remember that we want the spine open from pubis to chest. And we're coming into Prasarita Padottanasana Ekam, number one, where the chest is parallel to the floor. And this is a wonderful opportunity for thousands of investigations, possible investigations. Let's start with the most obvious, the feet. We're investigating the balance of the feet by feeling where the fatty tissue, which is the tissue that covers the heels and the balls of the feet, where that's getting pushed to. What we'd like to do through play is feel the bones pressing down more and more evenly through that fatty tissue so that the feet themselves start to feel balanced or equal between inner and outer ankle. Now, this equality, it's called upeksha in Sanskrit, is also compared to a wind that should flow evenly everywhere. It's seen as the most important wind in the system of vayus, as they're called. And it should flow equally everywhere. And what that is a different way of approaching non-attachment, because that can sound really horrible. Non-attachment sounds horrible. Sounds like I'm not keen on anything, but it's not true. We are keen on some things, aren't we? Always will be. But upeksha is encouraging a sense of equanimity towards the objects in consciousness, meaning that we allow that which exists to do what it needs to do, what it will do, what's inevitable to it, to flow. To flow. Now, it's possible, but not likely, but it's possible that some people during this adjustment of the feet investigation will find that the hamstrings release to the point where the lower back starts to dip downwards, concave, which is good and right and what we want. But if it keeps concaving and you don't come any lower, it might start to feel squashed. So you can, in that scenario, come lower down, but it's not the goal. They're just two different poses. And you take the pose that's appropriate to the flow in your breath, a sense of flow in the mind. So just focusing on the balance of the feet will give you plenty to stay in touch with throughout the pose. Just that balance on the feet. Good. If you came lower because the back needed it, then come higher again. Just come as high as you can to your blocks or fingertips, whatever you're using, and then walk your feet a little closer to each other, just a few centimeters closer. Come as high as you humanly can on your fingers and lead with the chest to come up. Very good. Calmly bring your feet together. Get that energy down into your feet so you don't feel dizzy. Kick out a bit of the tensions and come again into Adho Mukha Svanasana, down face dog. Basically, everyone in the room is going to face this way, towards this line. Wherever you in the room, you're facing that way. At home, you're totally free to face any way you want. So Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog pose. And play with it. So when we talk about strength in yoga, it's very easy because we tend to come at things from a point of view of self. When we talk about strength, we tend to think about, right, I will make the muscle be as hard as it can be or work as much as it can be, but that's not strength. Strength is togetherness.
it's kind of a bit sort of contrived, but quite often in films and things, they often sort of make this demonstration of strength. Get one stick and they give that to the person. They snap that stick, and they can't. They easily do, and two sticks together they can still. And then they give them a bunch of sticks all tied together. Can't snap them. So similarly, strength is the gathering of the various fibers. So if we want to strengthen the arms, for example, it's a gathering process that takes place over time of pulling up on the triceps, the opposite side of the arm to the bicep. Can you feel that? Pull up on your triceps from below the elbow, but do it gradually, not like a sudden thing, like make it work. But think of it like gathering strands, one after the other. Then stretch through your inner armpit, all the way through to your groins. Regarding the strength of the quadriceps, the front thighs, heels back gently, maybe even one at a time. Back of the thighs forwards, and then gather, fiber by fiber, recruit, fiber by fiber. That's how we build a strong leg. Now we're going to bring the feet a little closer together, a little closer to each other, and we're going to raise the leg that's closest to me and have a little play. In this Trianga Adho Mukha Svanasana, this three limbs, Trianga. So you can do things like bend the knee that's in the air and extend it. You can turn out or in. You can do things like lifting the heel off the foot that's on the floor, up and down. So there are various ways in which you can really play. Then when you're ready, bending that knee, we're going to attempt to sweep the foot forwards into the place of the hand. Now, some people will do it on one breath, one movement. Some will take 2 or 3 movements. Up to you. But the foot coming forwards, however you can get it there. Then the back knee is going to land for a moment on the floor. Not much weight. Behind the pelvis. Breathe through your nose. When you get the stretch right, it almost feels like the sun's coming out. It's got that kind of vibe to it. And then we're going to climb up on our legs. We're going to stretch our arms up as if sun worshippers, worshipping Surya, the sun, or Savitar, another sun deity. There's quite a lot of solar deities. Lightly toning the tummy. So the Saurya traditions in South Asia were a very major tradition, the sun worshipping traditions that have since pretty much faded away, but elements of them still exist within Buddhism and within certain branches of Hinduism. Buddhism with the Buddha Vairochana, who is like the sun. Coming forwards and back to your Adho Mukha Svanasana, your downward facing dog. Sun salutations, however, in the form we think of them, have no history in yoga further back than, well, the first time they're ever mentioned is about 200 years ago in any text. It's never appeared anywhere else. So they're not as a, but so the word Surya Namaskara does exist, as a sense of surrender to the moment. So we can evoke that vibe with some authenticity. Let's raise the other leg up when we're ready. Similarly, bending, extending, lifting and landing the standing leg heel, turning out, turning in. I'm pretty sure you can feel ways into the stretch that are meditative, that are focusing. When you're ready with a bent knee, sweep the foot forwards. It might take 2 or 3 steps, or it might come forwards in one. And then the knee comes down to the floor behind the pelvis. Sometimes lots of little lifts and landings can help stretch the thigh more holistically. Remember, when we're talking about strength, we're talking about gathering. And it also can help us place the knee more optimally. Climbing up onto the knee if you're ready. Lightly toning the tummy, breathing through your nose. Raising the arms up. In our little Surya Namaskara, homage, sort of sun worshipping. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Sapiens have quite commonly worshipped the sun for obvious reasons, because all of the energy on the planet Earth is created by the sun.
Maybe apart from the geothermal energy at the deep oceans, but anyway, apart from that, breathing through your nose. Make sure your neck still feels good, spacious. Okay, good, groovy. Back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Briefly, very, very calm. Send some waves of energy through your back. Take your hands a little further apart, just a little bit, and bring your shoulders forwards. Even with wrist problems, sometimes, quite commonly, I've found that pressure through the wrists is actually a way of helping the wrist, because many times wrist problems are a problem to do with inflammation going through the carpal tunnel. So a little bit of stretch on the carpal tunnel can make a bit of space. So breathing into that. If you can, come to Chaturanga Dandasana, either with your hands on the floor or you can do it on your forearms. You're not going to be there long. Push up to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, the so-called head up dog with the toes either tucked under or pointing back. And gather. So you're all about gathering. You can do this on the forearms as well if you need to with the legs on the floor. But whatever external position we're taking, we're all gathering various fibers into the same direction. Drop the knees, come onto hands and knees, take a big deep breath that I can hear. Yes, let a few of them happen. Take the arm that's furthest away from me and bring it under your body towards me, palm up, towards me. So towards me, I'm over here, just to be clear, this direction towards me. I'm going towards you, you're going towards me. And then your other arm stretches out. Breathe through your nose if you can. I hope you can feel a stretch that you can breathe into across the deltoid, which is the muscle that caps the shoulder. For everybody, this is enough, but some people like to have a little, a variety. So a variation is to bring your hand back, push down, and then lift your top leg up. That's a variation on the theme. It's also very good if you want to surprise someone with a kung fu kick from underneath the bed, like in the Pink Panther movies. Now, some people think, God, I'd like something to be even more exciting. Some people, really love wild excitement, in which case you could try, if you wanted, bending the leg and slowly. It's all about moving slowly. If you want to keep balance, reaching for the foot. So any of those variations are all good. Okay, calmly coming out back to hands and knees. Well done. Take a deep breath or two. So success in that, in achieving holding the foot is all about very slow movements. But success in yoga is all about absorption, so don't worry about it. Bring your other arm underneath the same pose. So this time your arm is going the other direction away from me. You're staying where you are. So yeah, it's just, it's all right. It's my eye confusion because I'm I moved, so it can confuse us. The arm extends and we breathe through the nose. So top arm is extended. The deltoid, the muscle that caps the shoulder, that muscle, we can really breathe into that. And if you breathe into it, into the deltoid, you might move into a more relaxed state. I won't say into the delta brainwave, because that's like deep sleep, but into something more relaxed. Maybe alpha or theta. If you want to try retracting the extended hand and raising the leg up,
That's an option. And you breathe into it. And if you want to try bending the leg and reaching very, very, very slowly towards it, that's another option. Very, very, very slowly. If you got hold of the leg, you might even begin to open it up, a bit like Dhanurasana. Okay, good job. Back to hands and knees. When you're ready, catch your breath. So coming back to hands and knees, catch your breath. Jaw soft, breathing deep. Let's just bring our forearm down and face towards me, this side of the room. Just resting on your forearm. Bring one leg behind you. Ordinarily, I'd bring you all a bowl of grapes to eat now, but Buddhist Center's budget can't extend to grapes, and especially can't extend to delivering them to your homes. And those of you zooming, we're going to lift up and raise up and breathe deep. Don't hold your breath. So if it's difficult, let the mind be a little bit more fluid, so that your body can move with the moment without holding the breath. So mind moves with the moment without holding the breath. Okay. Come down very, 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 very slowly. Well done, everyone. Knees up. Move around to the other side. Similarly, if you can make it. On your forearm, so if you're holding a bunch of flowers, one leg behind you. So if your hand is like you're holding a bunch of flowers, there's a little external rotation on the shoulders. So that's a little nicer for the shoulder. We're going to lift up when we're ready. As calm as we can be. We can keep the fingers on the floor, on the wrist, on the hip, or raise up. Sometimes it's nice to raise the heel of the lower leg. Some people even like to raise the lower leg itself. There's lots of ways in which you might want to play. So the most important thing, especially according to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, is that we're relaxed. So the Yoga Sutras only tell us 4 things about poses, what to do in poses. One of them is to be relaxed. And the other is to be happy. So that's quite nice. Okay, come down easy. And then they only say focus on the infinite as well and be steady in that. Cross your legs, sit up, please. So we're back to Sukhasana, which we started, but we were on blocks. We're going to draw the buttock push out and back. Very good. So we come to the inner front edge of the ischial tuberosities, or the sitting bones. There should be a gap between the legs and pelvis, and both feet are on the floor in this particular cross leg, which is called, as I mentioned, Sukhasana. We're going to lift on the inhalation. We're going to turn on the exhalation, bringing the right hand on the floor, and the left hand crosses over both legs. So Patanjali only gives us 4 pieces of advice about posture practice, that it should be happy, relaxed, steady, and focused on the endless, ananta, which sometimes people translate as the infinite, but ananta literally means without end. An means not, anta means end. So focus on the endlessness, which is the present. The present is endless, isn't it? It's always been the present. Just loads of things. Everything's changing in the present. That's what defines the present. Don't think that we're moving from the past to the future. The present is the only thing that's moving, and there is no past or future. Now, from a thought point of view, you could argue that, but from an experiential point of view, that's very, very obviously true. In terms of postures, that means that we're not reaching out for where we think we're going. We simply move with where we are. And that naturally releases tensions, opens up spaces, lets go of compressions.
and so on. It generates supports. There is the option, if appropriate, meaning if you've got long arms, to reach one arm that's on the floor behind and reach that round for your thigh. But for most of us, that's not on the cards, because our arms just aren't that long, you know. So it's really just how the arms are. Now breathe without holding the breath. Soften the eyes if you can. Try to relax any gripping, which is expressive of reaching for the future, upadana. Okay, calmly and easefully. Return to center and then continue around to the other side. Same thing, but the other way, other direction. Breathe through your nose. Try to sit up tall, light, and without grasping. So although Patanjali only gives us 4 pieces of advice about posture practice, what he calls asana, which we could say just means seat, although the commentaries give us 15 different asanas, and commentaries, early commentary could well have been written by Patanjali himself. Although we only have these 4 very, very useful pieces of advice, he gives general advice about yoga. And he says, yoga should be empty of grasping. Aparigraha. He says yoga is a practice where we shouldn't be taking anything that's not freely given. Is the option for anyone whose arm's long enough to reach round and hold the thigh, but for most of us, that isn't an option. And we remain quite as it should be, with a hand on the floor. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Think more about lift and lightness than about turn. Try and lift a little taller. A little taller than that. Gently though. That's nice. Without lifting the legs, they're heavy and settled. Great. Okay, release calmly and slowly. We're going to take the legs into a reasonably generous stride, although depending on how flexible you are, it's not necessarily the widest stride. It might be the widest stride that we can muster, but if you can do, say, the box splits, it is not that. Because the pose Upavishta Konasana just means seated at an angle, Samakonasana is same angle, so that's the box splits. That's a different pose, perfectly nice pose. I do it myself, but this is not that. Now, how do you define the distance with your feet? Well, you should be able to reach your toes. Right? If you can't reach your toes, bring your legs closer. If you can't reach your toes, however close your legs are, then don't. But at least you brought your legs a little closer. Draw the buttock flesh out and back. Take your hands into a cupped position. Oh, I should say you can sit on a block as well for this, but the corner faces forwards if you're sitting on a block. Cupped position. Turn your fingers back behind you and roll the shoulders. So just to reiterate about the block, if you feel collapsed in the lower back, a block is the way to go to give you that lift. And the corner, so the whole block is not like this, but like this. The corner faces forwards and just shows in front of the pubis. And the reason for that is then the thigh bones can drop. So we want the lift, we want the buoyancy, we want the release. We want the lift, we want the buoyancy, we want the release. So if you lift the buoyant chest, you'll get the release of the legs downwardly, which is both physical and psychological, psychophysical release. Lift and turn your body to face towards your right leg and have a look at your right foot. The feet generally are underappreciated, so it's nice to give them a little look and a little appreciation. Thanks for bringing me here today, foot and the other foot. We'll come to that in a minute. For some people, it stimulates more of an invitation to release if you lean over the leg a little bit, so that's fine. We're only trying to stimulate an invitation to release. If that acceptance of that invitation means that the thigh continues to drop and that it feels more meditative to go further forwards, then that's fine. But if it just feels like we're sort of grasping, trying to reach out, then that's not fine. That's not yogic. So we're dropping the thigh as a sort of investigative meditation. Coming up calmly, turning towards the other leg and twisting and lifting. And make sure you can sit up really light, really tall without holding the breath. Really light, really tall without holding the breath. And then see if you can feel a bit of energy release into your back leg. And it may be, as on the other side, that it's appropriate or comfortable to lean forwards a little bit, just enough to stimulate the invitation to release. Just because we're putting a bit of extra weight above the leg, then that would invite the leg to release downwards. If we accept the invitation, which you do through your breath, then that will mean that either where we are, everything begins to open up, or that might overspill into more physical movement eventually, perhaps. So you've got to fill up where you are, and then sometimes that overspills, you know. So what makes you a yogin, it has nothing to do with how flexible you are, but to do with how you're using the body as a tool for meditation. And that will show up as release, as relaxation, particularly in the breath. Come up without haste, nice and calm. We're going to cross the legs again. So you might not be on a block for this, or you might remain on a block, but we're going to cross the legs the other way to the way we crossed them. We only crossed them one way before, and you will have crossed them your most natural, comfortable way. So if you now go to the what feels a bit awkward, doesn't feel quite right, then that should be the other side. And we sit up nice and tall, breathing through the nose without tensing the buttocks. Jaw soft, eyes soft, breathing deep. So without tensing the buttocks. Jaw soft, eyes soft, and breathing deep. So it's all very lovely. It's relaxing, it's easeful, it's natural. We're going to lift as we did before, turn as we did before to bring the right hand on the floor, and turn for the Parivrita again, version of Sukhasana, Parivrita Sukha. Breathing is deep, breathing is natural, breathing is honest. Try not to lift the leg that your hand is pressing on. Notice if it is lifting. It's lifting because of one of two things. Either you're pulling it up or the inner thighs are tensing up. Either one is indicative of reaching out, upradhana, which we don't do because the only thing that there is now, and if we're reaching out, we're dispowering ourselves in the present. We're making ourselves blind because we're focusing on an idea about the future rather than the reality of the present. Again, there's the option, if the arms are long, to reach around and hold the thigh, but for most of us, the arms aren't long enough for most of us, so we keep the hand where it is. Breathing, jaw soft, eyes soft, aparigraha, empty of grasping. integration. That's the name of our subject. Release, return to center, pause for a moment, palms up, take a deep breath. Next time you take a deep breath in, lift with it and turn the other direction. Similarly, again, there's the option to reach the arm round for anyone who's got long arms, which is not most of us don't. So either way is fine, but tall, upright, natural, and relaxed. Natural and relaxed. So then you lose it becomes an exploration into timelessness, because time is usually defined by the past and the future, going from the past to the future. But timelessness is just now. And, you know, if you want full power in the present, then make sure everything's in the present. Make sure that we're not abandoning the present for some imaginings of the future. And remember, the future has never come and will never come. All there ever has been is the present. It's just that the present is a place full of change. Okay, release when you're ready. Nice and easy, back to center. Take 2 or 3 or 4 deep, natural breaths. We're going to stay with the breath as we take 1 to 2 blocks to sit on. And if you're on 2 blocks to sit on, you'll need a brick block or other block behind you. I'm going to start with 1, but as I say, you might need 2. We're going to sit on them with our legs extended out in front of us. And the buttock flesh is drawn out and back. So if you find it makes more space to sit on 2, do make sure, as I say, you have another 3rd block behind you as well. So buttock flesh drawn out and back, so you come to the inner front edge of the sitting bones. Bend the leg that's closest to me and place the sole of the foot on the floor. So bend the leg that's closest to me. You got it. I'm going to bend the opposite one, but ignore me doing that. Bring your fingers around your shin and just step your straight leg away, outwards from the midline, 1 centimeter. Just step it out 1 centimeter. And then look for some height. So you might move left and right. Just massage it in a little bit. Massage it in. So don't hold the breath. Breathe through your nose if you can. Gently massage so that we can get compliance. And of course, the word compliance comes from pliance, pliable. We have words like pliable. Something that has the scope for movement and stretch. So compliant means with pliability. And that's what we want. We want this. So that is evoked through movement because it stops us becoming rigid in the way we move, and we can be more creative. When you feel soft, and you might not yet, you might want to move like this for a bit longer, and lifted. Then we lift up and turn towards me or towards your bent leg, and bring your hand either on the block behind you or on the floor behind you. And you can either stay like this, holding the leg as I am here, or you can hook the arm onto the outside of the leg, facing towards the front of the room, the other. Right now, you want to turn the other way, that way. Breathe through your nose. Sometimes it can be useful to bring your back arm forwards and use your hand there to help you work around. And then lots of little movements of the abdominals. So we draw in and lift up. So lots of backwards and forwards movements can help, because as you go backwards, there's a bit more space. You can suck your tummy in, you can lift up, you can turn, and then you can catch that movement. You can sort of lock it in by going forwards again. So the whole thing looks a bit like this sort of movement, but actually we're slow motion. We lean back, suck in, lift up, turn, and then catch that movement so it stays in place. So we're always building over on the movement we created before. This is Marichasana number 3. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Great. Okay, slowly, calmly release, stretch your legs out. Take a deep breath. I'm going to move my block. You don't need to. You just need to bend the leg that's furthest away from me, which you can do now. And once that's bent, the leg furthest away from me, you're going to lift up and make some height. So you might move left, you might move right. Again, we want yoga, meaning it's not just a case of making the shape, but it's a case of getting all of the nervous impulses to be on board, so that there's nothing doing anything else, not preoccupied with some sort of tension to do with some shock that we've had or to do with some point of view that we hold. We're really purifying the whole nervous system so it becomes shunya, empty. So this is the meaning of the word or the expression nadi shodhana, to cleanse the nerves. Stepping the straight leg out if you haven't, just a little bit. Getting that height, cleansing the nerves, looking for more height over time. Remember the metaphor of gathering many sticks. That's how you get strength. So gathering all the fibers. And then when you're ready, turning away from me, one hand on the floor, one hand on the leg, or you can use your back arm to help you get your arm over your leg, is another choice. And then lots of repetition of drawing back to suck in and pull up, and then drawing forwards to lock that in. And then once that settles, you can build it up. So as the Buddha says, a jug fills drip by drip. Says that in the text of Dhammapada. Breathing easy, breathing calm. So either keeping the hand in the Abhaya Mudra, or if your arms are long enough, you can even clasp. But try and focus on the lift and the turn from the lower back. Repeat it, lift and turn. Well done, everyone. Slow, calm, easy release. One last Adho Mukha Svanasana for the road, as it were. Come on up when you're ready. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Just stretch through your back in waves. In waves. Keep the jaw passive. Reiterate. Breathe through your nose. Stretch those armpits, inner, outer, under. Then come down calmly. We're going to sit in Siddhasana, which is a seated position facing towards the front. I've sat myself on a cork brick, which is what I would recommend to most people. You can also use a regular, it doesn't have to be a cork brick, but just a brick-shaped block. It can be made of whatever. Or if you don't have that, the short end of a regular block, or even two regular blocks. And you can also use a blanket under your shins if you want. Siddhasana, it's variously mentioned in different texts. Some Hatha texts say it's the best pose, and different ways of doing it. But we're going to do it with the heels lined up with each other in the midline of the body. And you can either do that with both feet on the floor, or you can bring one leg up on top of the other, but still the heels are lined up with each other and the midline of the body. We're going to elevate the chest. A little mantra uchara. Mantra uchara is the uchara, the upward movement of a mantra to cleanse, to push through the central channel so that we have this visceral sense of space. And of course, the law of pressure is that we always move, like with air pressure, air always moves from an area of higher pressure to an area of lower pressure. It's just always, that's what it wants to do. So similarly, if we increase the volume of the central channel, the pressure decreases, and our attention, that's the same as air. It always wants to go to an area, it always wants to move away from an area of higher pressure, doesn't it? Towards an area of lower pressure. It's just natural, isn't it? So we're going to send the bīja mantra Om up through the central channel. What we want to do is really visualize that we can feel it. Visualize that we can feel it moving up and through. So when you're ready, take a deep breath in down to the pelvic floor. Push it right up out of the crown of the head, and we'll do 2 more. Really try to imagine you're feeling it moving. Last one. And deep breaths. Let in some light and some color. We're going to lay down on our backs for our final pose, the Shavasana. So when you're ready, gently release, although it's of course lovely to sit on. But if you want to sit on, don't forget Sri Pada's class in real life. Meditation class starts at 11 in this very room. So you can stay for meditation if you wanted to with the beautiful Sri Pada. But now we're coming into the meditation that's known as Shavasana, or the corpse pose. And in this pose, we want to make sure our legs are not too wide. The common mistake is the legs are taken too wide and the arms are taken too narrow. So the legs shouldn't be too wide. The arms should be wide. The hands should be well clear of the yoga mat. The hands should be completely clear of the yoga mat. And the shoulder blades should be scooted under the body, leaving the chest buoyant, floating almost. So make sure your hands are off the yoga mat quite a long way, that your shoulder blades have been pushed under your body. So your chest has got this floating feel to it, and that the eyes are closed. We're told that the purpose of this pose is to melt. It's a melting pose. So when we're not told what it is that should be melting, we have to presume everything. Skin, muscles, bones, tensions of all kinds, melting. Ideas, opinions, descriptives, judgments, pet peeves, melting. perhaps most important of all, borderlines melting, such as the borderline between inside and outside. Or us and them, or you and me. Feel into the body. Some movements of your toes or fingers. Some little stretches that feel natural and pleasant. And when you feel ready, bend your legs and place the soles of the feet on the floor. Scoot the buttocks under. Take a deep breath and let the lower back release completely into the breath. Roll over, facing away from the shrine side of the room, and lay as comfortably as you can on your side. Then roll in the other direction. Again, lay as comfortably as you can on your side. Let a bit of light and color come into your eyes. And bring yourself up gently from the side, facing towards the shrine, the side of the room. And we can bring our hands to prayer if we want. And if we agree with the following sentence, we can just say Om, which means I agree. So bring your hands to prayer and listen to the words and just see if you feel them, then just say Om, I agree with that. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way be shared amongst all beings for the alleviation of everybody's suffering. Om. Thank you very much, Roomers and Zoomers, for your time. I really appreciate you coming. Lovely to see you. I hope some of you can join me for my winter solstice immersion. Much appreciation. Thank you very much. Be happy and well, free of mind-created suffering.